Hello, hello. My name is Ryan from Nefarious Comics, and I'm here as always with the undisputed queen of comics, Danielle, the nerdy girl herself. How are you, Danielle?
Hey, what is up?
I'll tell you, I'm coming in hot as always. We have a huge guest today. You guys know him as Regie Collects on Instagram. On YouTube, he's Regie Collects Comics. This gentleman creates some of the best content in the game right now. Without further ado, Reggie, my man, how you doing tonight?
I am doing well. Thank you for having me on the show. It is an absolute pleasure.
Now, Reggie, I got to tell you something. Before we get going, before I kick it over to Danielle, since Danielle and I started collaborating on some videos about 3 months ago, every time we talk about who we're going to have on, she's like, we got to have Regie Collects on. We got to have Regie Collects on. And finally, here you are, man. And as you can see, I'm bouncing off the walls. Danielle's embarrassed. I'm going to toss it over to you, Danielle, to get things rolling.
Look, I'm blushing. So for those who don't know, Reggie was the first channel I ever went on. Like when I was just kind of finding my Instagram footing, Reggie was the first channel I ever went on. So I told him, listen, it is time for you to come on my show. At one point I was like, all right, I got to break the record for most times on your show. Now other people have surpassed me. He really left me hanging there. But it is genuinely my honor to have you on the show tonight.
It is my pleasure. And, you came on the show, what, 2 or 3 times. And at one point you showed up with like $1 million worth of comics. And that was a moment. That is probably why I haven't had you back since. You just can't roll up with $1 million worth of books and be like, here you go, So, but no, it was great to have you on my show. And it is a pleasure to be on yours.
Well, I show up with $1 million worth of books and you roll with 1 million books. So I mean, we're kind of complimenting each other there.
I'll trade you $1 million books right now. I know how much work
that is.
So let me pick up that segue for just a minute, because Reggie, I was on the Key Collector app the other day and I'm scrolling around and all of a sudden I see a category that says Regie Collects on there. I'm like, what's going on here? Reggie's over on Key Collector now. And they get talking about the Regie Collects pedigree, where you found, 100,000 comic book collection.
Yep.
So, tell us about that. How did you find that?
Yeah. So my thing with Key Collector, it's dependent upon where you look. You may not see it. It's actually been there for a while, but it depends upon what way you go in there. But at one point I was providing content to Key Collector because I'm a big fan of the app, right? And so we had this thing where they put up a list of some really cool books that I found in the collection, like obscure comics. But the 100K collection has a long history, right? I mean, it is literally 30,000 pounds of comic books, and I found the collection through the channel. I put out content, people watch the content, people appreciate the content. Someone had a collection that they inherited when someone passed away. They asked me my advice for what they should do with the collection. I gave them a ton of advice about, do an inventory, figure out what's in there, figure out what you want to do with it. And so for a period of time, I was giving the family advice. And after a while, they were like, so do you want the collection? I'm like, no, no, I don't want that. And it's like a lot of books, and I actually took trips to see the collection because I went up there and I met with them and gave them advice, and I ended up buying a couple of books from them. And I made like two trips up there to look at it. And it's overwhelming. And I did not want that responsibility. But after like a year, my wife was like, you should do it. The family wanted me to do it. I think that I had gained enough experience to take it on. And even then, the logistics of it are daunting, trying to transport 30,000 pounds from where it is to where you want it to be. Then you have to deal with storage and insurance, and it's a lot, but it has been awesome. I mean, it is like a wonderful source of content. Say it again.
And it's like a constant treasure hunt, right?
I go hunting. I go hunting in the garage.
Right.
Super simple. And it's great content for the channel.
And you moved them, right? Because you moved recently. So did you have a separate truck to move the books?
Oh, so I almost had a separate truck. We had, so it's 30,000 pounds. it is literally more than my household possessions. And there's 4 of us, right? There's more comics than there are things that we have.
Right.
But we moved from California to North Carolina. And we went through various scenarios because they gave me a quote on what it would take to transport. And I was like, so no.
Because they charge in pounds, don't they, when you move like that? Yeah.
I was like, no, thank you. That's a stupid number. I don't want that number. So I made arrangements to have a guy that originally transported the collection for me to do it again. But in the middle of a pandemic, getting a truck is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's expensive if you can get them. So we ended up working some things out with the company that was moving the household possessions, where they were able to actually take everything on one truck, the collection, the household possessions. It worked out quite nicely. And I think he might have actually been overweight. He was overweight with like moving it across the country, but he made magic happen. So it's all here at the house, which is great.
Well, that was going to be one of my next questions, is like, where do you keep 100,000 comics, you know?
An entire bay of a garage. It's literally an entire bay. I got these red hefty, I think they're called hefty shelves from Home Depot, and they're steel, they're robust. My wife did all the measurements to figure out how many could fit on a shelf and how to get all the shelves in there. You know, we did. I'm gonna tell you, you haven't lived until you've moved 400 long boxes. Okay.
Oh, I know. I had at one point like 300 boxes of Heroes Inc. Every single box was Heroes Inc. #1. Every single one. You know how many times I hired people to move those damn boxes?
Yeah, I moved those boxes myself.
It takes hours.
Yeah, my wife and I, we the guys moved them in. They set them in the middle bay. We built the shelves. We put the shelves in place, and we lifted each box and put it on the shelf one at a time. It was bad.
Yeah, it's daunting. Bad. That was your workout for like 2 weeks.
Literally.
Right?
Literally. It was bad. I was sore for a while. And that's why we call people soldiers. You have to be in some type of shape to lift these long boxes the way that we do, you know? So that's where the whole soldier thing came from, is literally I was neck deep in the 100K collection before I bought it. And it was wintertime, and I was huffing and puffing. And I was like, you got to be in shape to move these boxes, you know?
That many especially.
Now, so Reggie, to your point, it's funny because you know, we've all set up at cons before, and when it comes time to tear down at the end of cons, I see some guys I know that the most I've ever seen them do is lift a Dorito from the bag to their mouth. These guys are shuffling, and they are moving boxes like I've never seen them move before, you know?
Yeah.
It's power from down in. So Reggie, like, we've heard about the collection, but where did things like start originally? When did Reggie start collecting?
Oh man, there's been 3 distinct periods. The first period was in the early 90s when I was like the middle school era, and started buying comics, reading them with friends, and I would work at the fast food places. I would spend all my money at the comic shop, and I would read all my comics until I had them basically committed to memory, you know, and then I would bag and board them and put them away. And then I discovered girls, and I was like, well, girls and comics, this is not a hard decision to make here, right? And if anybody's wondering, her name was Jessica. She was fantastic. We made a transition to girls, and we never looked back until like maybe 2005, 2006. And I was living in Maryland at the time, and I started going to a comic shop. I think it might have been called like A1 Comics, maybe, in Waldorf, Maryland. Started going to the comic shop again, 2005, 2006. It did not last all that long. And then the next period was at the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018, when I retired from being a competitive bodybuilder. My wife was like, you need a hobby because you're going to drive me crazy. And so I started collecting again. And by that point, my collection, which was in Maryland, had come to California. So I had my original collection from my childhood. My wife bought me a collection for Christmas, and I merged these 2 collections together. And this was during the holiday period of 2017. And I've never looked back.
That's pretty exciting. So now, where did your 2 paths intersect? Like, how did you guys come to know each other?
Danielle and I, or my wife and I?
Well, sorry, I got to clarify, Danielle and yourself.
I don't know. I think I probably started following her just because of Instagram, you
Yeah.
know? In those early days, man, if somebody was talking about comics or whatever, I was trying to check them out. And it was probably I found her on Instagram. And it's like if you've ever, seen her collection, it's like you just got to go ahead and tap the button. You're like, I just got to stay tuned for this, right? And I think that's how you meet most people. You see something that they're doing, you're like, that's interesting. Let me go ahead and just
Yeah.
stay tuned to see what happens,
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. And so after the collecting got going, and you got back into collecting, how did the transition come to start up the YouTube channel? Because you've had a lot of success on that.
Oh, I don't know if I've had success. I would not
And
call it
I
that.
would say the growth you've had from the first BS, Reggie. BS. Let me clap for you, because to watch where your channel was the first time it came on, I think you had like 1,100 or 1,200 followers
Something.
probably or subscribers when I came on. Now
Something like that.
you're over 10,000.
No, we're over 16,000.
16,000. Okay, over 16,000.
Get it right.
Apologies. So we've like more than 10 times.
Yeah.
So I would say you have some secret sauce and you're doing something right. And
Yeah, but it's not that I compare myself to other people, but you look at what other people are doing and you're like, I still have a lot of room for improvement,
Yeah.
right? I can't even remember what the question was. I got so sassy with my response that I forgot what the question was. But I started the YouTube channel. We are almost at 4 years right now. I think my anniversary is this year. Comic Tom, Bueller, and I all started roughly around the same time 4 years ago, I believe, in the same month.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and I only know that because Bueller reminds me of my anniversary. That's like the only reason why I ever know. But I started because I was watching guys like Jim Mint, ETA Nick, Reaper Tate sell my comics. I'm watching these guys on YouTube. Like I literally used to have breakfast with Jim Mint every day, right? And I have the same breakfast every day and have for years. Like we're talking like 10 years, same breakfast. So it was me and Jim Mint having breakfast, and I was like, you know what? These guys are having fun. I want to have some fun.
Yeah.
Because even though I had a couple of buddies when I was younger that were into comics, I've never had a group of friends that were into it that I could talk to, right? And so I'm looking at these guys on YouTube having a lot of fun. I'm like, I want to do that. So I was like, I'm going to go ahead and start talking about comics. And so I made this transition from being a bodybuilder with a channel that was about bodybuilding and fitness to one that was talking about comics. And it was a rough transition. I had a lot of people that was like, so what are you really about? Why are you really here? I had a lot of people that were suspicious of me, and I'm like, I just want to have some fun. And one of my early videos, if you go back and watch a recent interview that I did with Comic Tom, I mispronounced Galactus's name. And you have the statue back there, and it reminds me of this early video where I mispronounced the name. And the reality is I had never said the name out loud. I had no clue how to pronounce it because I had never said it out loud. And so I'm saying it out loud for the first time in a video, and people they let me know. They were like, that is not the correct pronunciation of his name. They spelled it out phonetically. I was like, cool.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Nothing to hurt your feelings. Like people being like, you don't know how to read. Cool. Okay. But I started 4 years ago, man. And it started out as me trying to have some fun. And I've had a heck of a journey over these last 4 years.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, let's first, talking about the success you've had over the last 4 years, let's first dive into the thing that everyone is talking about right now, and that's your guide to smart collecting.
Yeah.
Like, obviously it's a huge hit. You're on print 3 now? Are you on?
Oh no, we're done. we're done.
Online only. Download only.
Exactly.
Scooped mine.
And they made me do a download. I didn't even want to do it. You
I
know?
think you should have. I think that is so important to do.
Yeah. So we debated so many different things when we rolled the guide out. We were looking at Substack. Do we do digital? Do we take the guide and break the guide into two parts? That one part that's a true reference, one
Yeah.
that's more of timely information. And we ultimately landed on, a first print with like evergreen content, if you will, and then a second print that had the blog post in there from the community as like the more timely stuff. And I did not want to, once we landed on print, I was like, a print, like an encyclopedia, is typically print. It's a reference guide. It's not digital. I wanted something that's set on the desk, but my wife and Doug and Scott and others were like, you need digital. So I ended up doing digital. But we created the guide because the guide, well, for a couple of reasons. One, the guide is an extension of what we already do
Yeah.
with the channel, right? The channel is all about providing collectors of all experience levels with practical information that can help make them smarter about the hobby, with the hope that if they're smarter, they'll stay in the hobby long term, right? It's all about practical application, practical advice. That's what the channel does. Doug, who is the co-author, has been like for 2 years creating blog posts for the channel, talking about speculation. He's, talked about all kinds of different topics. So we basically took my videos, years of video content, years of blog posts, and we mashed it together and we modified it and we came out with the print guide. And so I've been very pleased with how the community has responded to the guide.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting. Like you always have these ideas and you never know how they're going to go until you roll them out. And then you're like, oh, people like this,
That was a hit. Well, it almost breathed excitement back into the hobby, right? Because it wasn't a variant, it wasn't another comic book that everyone had to go out and buy. It was formatted in like the shape of a comic book, but which was really smart, and it homaged comic book covers.
Yeah.
But it was like real knowledge that people can say, okay, I'm going to put this in my backpack when I go to a show. And you know what? I'm going to reference this when I'm at the show because maybe this would be helpful or that would be helpful.
Yep. I mean, people dog earing the book and, highlighting in it and putting sticky notes in it. That's what you want, right? You want people to use it and you want people to be more informed, right? And what I've seen over the last few years is I believe that the comic book community has grown. I think that the MCU movies, the TV shows, all of those things are drawing people in. And what we cannot do as content creators is assume that everyone is up to speed. Everyone is as knowledgeable as everyone else. We have to remember that everyone that people are starting from different points. And so we wanted to put the guide out to help people wherever they were on that spectrum of being, either new or newly returning or being somebody that's been here for a while. The goal was to put something in there for everybody to make everybody smarter. And like I said, you to some degree or another, what we've done is we filled a void. You look at the Overstreet guide, which I think is great. The Overstreet guide, I don't know if it speaks to new people, right? It speaks to the industry, but not the new people. And we cannot forget. Say that again.
No, go ahead.
We cannot forget that the way that this hobby is going to survive is through new people coming in and staying here. And so we have to help those people.
Right. Yep. And understanding the hobby and the intricacies, and
because it's a lot of nuance.
Tools. It's so much. It's so intense. And, I agree with you. I think that if you've been in the hobby for over a decade, then you are loyal to the Overstreet. And I love the guys over at Diamond. Like, they're my people. But the Overstreet has not done the best job at keeping up with the market. And I think that that's where that kind of dip is a little bit. They put out great articles, and a lot of people run out and buy it for those blogs in the guide every year. But they have not stayed up with the current market. So I think that it's exactly what the hobby needed.
I mean, I talk to people and they're like, I don't know what to read. I don't know what to buy. What tool should I use to actually figure out how much to pay?
Like collecting comics 101, like those, like those like Microsoft for Dummies type things, but it's
Yes.
not for dummies. It's just like collecting.
It's for people that have an interest. And I remember I did a video at one point. I did a video on how to bag and board. And I had people that like heckled me in that video. What they did not realize is that that video spoke to a lot of people that were like, so how do I collect? And what bag do I use? And what is a bag and board? And like, why? You know, it's like that people were like, how do I collect? I was like, you buy a comic, you stick it in a box. You're a collector. That's literally what it is. It's like, let's take the mystery out of it. It's forget about the secret language, forget about the secret handshake, right? Let's just educate people. That's what the guide is all about. It's like, here's the secrets. There's no secrets, right? If you want to collect it, if you want to read it, go do it, you know? So this idea of, you know, people keep, like I had one guy early on, you know, I create these videos that try to give people information. One guy, I remember in my first year, he was like, you are going to regret giving your secrets away. And I was like, well, why would I regret helping somebody?
That's right.
Like who regrets doing a good thing for somebody else?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I'm not going to.
Hobby.
I mean, it betters the hobby. It betters you as a person.
Yeah.
Right. And then maybe that person actually helps somebody else. Now it's like
spread that knowledge. And it's like this whole cycle of like, do good, good comes back, and it keeps the world turning, and it keeps hobbies turning. Like knowledge, you see what I'm saying? Power.
Except you look at like you look at stamps, some of these other hobbies that are out there, they are aging out. Yeah. They're aging out. We don't want that here, right? Like, let's be real. We don't really have any true data that tells us what the comic book market actually is comprised of, whether it be men, women, or ages. You don't have any of that. But what you don't want is you don't want a bunch of people that are on the upper end of the age spectrum with nobody on the other end. Because, you know, you get that when people want to retain all the information and not share it with other people, or make people feel stupid. If you make people feel stupid, they will not stick around. Condescending 100%. Attitudes don't work. And so why? You know, like the people that talk about me misspelling or mispronouncing Galactus's name, some of them were probably trying to help me. Some of them wanted to make me feel stupid.
Oh, for sure.
What they ended up doing was fueling my desire to want to get smarter about the hobby, but then also to help the next person not feel what I felt, because maybe they would have quit and walked away. Instead, I dug deep. I learned how to pronounce Galactus's name. And when I can't pronounce something, I'm like, I can't pronounce this. Let's move on. You know, it's just.
I am queen of butchering names. I call out names that I'm like, could you like spell that out phonetically for me? Like, is it a hard I? Is it a Y?
I gotta listen, Reggie. I gotta say, no wonder your channel has 16,000 followers. Just listening to you speak it's infectious. The passion that you have.
Thank you, brother.
It's amazing. And I got a question for you. So all these, all the different prints, all the different cover homages that have been coming out for the guide, when are we going to see T-shirts coming out with those featured on them? Because there are some amazing art that you put out there.
Never.
I love that Hulk Annual 1 homage.
I like the wizard, man. The wizard myself.
So I cannot take credit for those. Right. I have to give credit where credit is due for this one. And then for the ones that look like that. These are Comic Tom and Nate made it. This is them. You know, what I did is I leveraged my relationship with Comic Tom because, you know, I don't know, Danielle, if people fully appreciate that we all talk behind the scenes. Right. Like we send messages to each other all the time. Right. Yeah. So Tom and I do the same thing. And so when I was working on the guide with Doug, I was like, you know what, we've got to sell some units. We've got a guide or anything doesn't do you any good if it doesn't get out to people. Right. So we reached out to Tom. Tom was receptive. And he was like, you know, I want to do a couple of covers. I had not thought about covers, but I was like, let's do it. So I had to figure out how to do covers. Right. Yeah. But he and Nate made it, teamed up, and they made magic happen. And people have Love the homage covers. I wish that I had come up with it. I wish that I could take credit, but it was all
I got one
him.
of the homage.
Yeah, and so maybe he'll do some t-shirts with it. You know, I have a series of cubbies over here full of t-shirts that are available to people on regiecollects.com if they want to.
RegieCollects.com. Those soldier ones are dope. I was on your site earlier looking around because I thought you had a book on there that you didn't have.
No, we
dope shirts on there though.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I don't know that people fully appreciate like when they support some of us as content creators.
Yeah.
We actually employ, might not sound right, but we work with a lot of other creative people, right? Graphic designers, people that do t-shirts, people that do logos, people that do video, people that do writing, people, you know. So when they buy from us, they're also supporting all of these other people that benefit from the things that we do. You know, like Nate Made It. If Tom does something with his covers, Nate Made It benefits from that, you know, and he's a super talented guy. I think he has a kid on the way or something like that. If I spoke out of turn, Nate, my bad, brother. But it's like when you support us, you support other people, which I think is something folks should remember. So
well, it goes back to keeping it spinning, right?
Keep it moving around.
It just keeps it moving.
Yep.
So I know you've got your smart guide and you're so crafty with some of the things you come up with. Share some more of your little tools and
what tools do you want to hear about?
The Swolger supply box.
Oh yeah. You've got a Swolger. Okay.
Yeah. So the Swolger supply box has been something that's been on my mind for probably 9 or 10 months. Shout out to Reptilian Overlord. But the supply box is something that I came up with for a couple of reasons. So a lot of people do mystery boxes, and I did not want to do a mystery box because other people are doing them. I wanted to do something different. I wanted to do something unique. Much like with my channel, I try to do things that are different and unique, but it takes time. It takes time to come up with these ideas, right? And then you have to ask yourself, is this, what'd you say?
And to execute them.
Right. And it's like, you have to find the right time. You have to make sure that it actually makes sense, right? Because you can do it, but are you going to lose money or are you going to at least break even, right? And then it's the timing of when you do some of these things. So the Swolger supply box is, as the name implies, a box that is full of supplies. So I am all about trying to give people tools and resources that will help make them better collectors. And in talking with a lot of people, folks are always asking me, what mounts do I use to secure my comics to the wall? Yeah. What bags and boards do I use? Right. So there's a lot of these questions. And then also with the pandemic, it's hard to get bags and boards. So what I've done is basically put together something called the Swolger supply box that is full of supplies that I actually use here in the comic book room. So it is like bags and boards from Comic Clear. It is the mounts from Collector Mount that I've been using for the last few years. It contains a couple of comics because you can't send something out without a couple of comics. It contains an art print from a young guy that is an artist out in the Instagram community. So it's basically a box full of just supplies, box cutters, and some other tchotchkes that I'm going to put in there for folks. And awesome. The whole thing is to give people things that they need, and hopefully they will enjoy. So.
Well, and like if someone's new to the hobby and they buy one, then they get an idea of what they need and how they should be buying supplies.
There you go. And then which when you come in, which companies to trust, which companies to go to, because I can tell you there are some bags and boards out there that are ill-fitting. Where it's like you go from the first bag to the second bag and the book is the same, and it doesn't fit. It's bad. Like I was hard pressed to find bags and boards for the guy, right? So I'm sitting there, got some bootleg bags and boards from my local comic shop, and I'm jamming, right? I'm jamming. All of a sudden I hit 20 bags. This book won't fit. The book is the same size.
Right. It didn't.
So what changed? It was the bootleg bag.
The shift at the processing plant changed is what happened. And everything went to hell in a handbasket.
then I get to bag 21, it starts fitting again. You know, it was a hot mess. So, you know, the Soldier Supply box again, we limited this thing to 50 boxes. My hope is that we will be able to sell the other 20 some odd that we have not sold by the time I start shipping on the 16th. And then what I want to do is I want to offer this up monthly, right? I want to offer up supplies back to the community on a monthly basis. And do I make money? Fingers crossed, right? Probably won't be for a while, because any money I make then gets spent on the next art print,
right,
or the next supply of bags and boards, or whatever it happens to be. But this will potentially fold into some other projects that I'm working on, because it all builds upon itself.
That's amazing. And now, Reggie, I had a question for you. So I was looking around your site again, and I've been following your videos for a while. And can you explain to us what the blue ocean strategy is, please?
So Malcolm Gladwell is an author, and he basically came up with this concept called the blue ocean, red ocean strategy. Because part of what I do is I take things from other parts of my life, whether it be fitness or business, and I bring it to comics, and I make comics make a little more sense, because I'm talking about comics, but I'm not talking about comics, right? So Malcolm Gladwell wrote this book, and he spoke about blue ocean versus red ocean. And the concept is really simple, and I think people will get it. You can be in a place where competition is fierce and people are fighting over scraps. They're fighting over a little bit of business, a little bit of opportunity, and they're fighting tooth and nail to get it. And you can compete there. Maybe you'll survive, or maybe you'll get your tail kicked, but you can get in there. Or you can create your own opportunities by going to a blue ocean where the waters are clear, they're not bloody with competition, and you can thrive because you've essentially created a separate environment for yourself to operate in, where the competition isn't as fierce. So that idea, I brought it to comics. You can buy the comic when the FOMO kicks in and everybody is driving up the price of a brand new comic that's maybe 10 days old to hundreds of dollars. You can do that. Or you can go after those books that people aren't paying attention to, but that have a lot of potential, that should one or two things go right, you could really benefit from, right? Like if everybody's going after Black Panther, for example, Black Panther movie's coming out, everybody's buying his first appearance. Why would you do that? When the prices, people are driving the price up, why not go buy, and I'm going to just make it up, why not go buy a Spider-Man book when nobody's paying attention to Spider-Man? That's maybe a much better way to go, because you're going to pay less. You're going to get a better price for it. And then when people start talking about Spider-Man again, you're already ahead of the curve, versus fighting tooth and nail for Black Panther when everybody's paying attention to Black Panther.
Then go buy your Black Panther.
Then you go buy. Why? Because that red ocean has become a blue ocean, and that's when you go buy it, right? So I have a video coming out real soon where it talks about the fact that there could be a blue ocean opportunity coming up that people will potentially miss out on. And it's not about a book. It's not about a book. What I try to do is to get people to think a little bit differently, to say, where is your blue ocean? Where is the blue ocean? Because the blue oceans are plentiful, but what it feels like is the red ocean is everywhere. Why? Because by the time you see the video, by the time you see the alert on your phone, by the time you see the social media post, it's already over. And you feel like you're surrounded by the red ocean, but there's more blue ocean, more opportunity than what you realize, but all you see is the red. Does that help, Ryan?
I think that's amazing. So I'm gonna take the ball and run with that. So I'm gonna throw something to you that I think might be a blue ocean here. It goes by VV.
Say it won't be a blue ocean. As soon as you say it, it's over.
Okay, well, it might be an opportunity then. What are your views on VV digital collectibles? Because I've seen you talk about them before.
Yeah. People don't give me credit for the fact that I was one of the early people talking about VV back in August. I had somebody reach out and be like, "You need to talk about VV." I'm like, "Do I? Do I really need to talk about VV? Let's check the dates on that. Let's check the dates." So I believe that NFTs present a great opportunity. What is that opportunity? To be determined, right? It is to be determined what the opportunity might be. This metaverse stuff, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around some of that stuff. And so I buy when I can get in there and when I can remember, I buy NFTs. And I buy them because I don't want to be left out in the cold. And I was left out in the cold with video games, despite the wonderful advice that someone actually gave me. I did not take action.
Over and over again. I told you too.
I sat there and watched it. That's
what I'm doing with NFTs, by the way.
Say that again.
That's what I'm doing with NFTs.
Yeah.
I'm just watching.
So it's like, but you can't do everything, right? You can't do everything. But I was intrigued. Like I like technology. And so I'm intrigued by cryptocurrency. I'm intrigued by the NFTs. I'm intrigued by the possibilities of what could come. And I don't want to be on the outside looking in, shoulda, woulda, coulda, right? So am I buying them? Yes. Am I paying a lot of money for them? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Until like there's no price guide. I want a price guide. Like, how much is this thing worth? I have no clue.
That's your next thing.
Yeah, be price guided.
Oh, I don't know. Price guide companies and grading companies take a lot of heat. I don't know if I want that kind of attention. I just rather write books that help people, you know. It's safer. It's safer.
Not it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think NFTs are great. I don't know what the future holds. I feel like, you know, and this is not an original thought, but I will not attribute it to anyone just yet. I feel like, you know, if you have an NFT that is being sold, that is digital only, you're selling essentially a future promise. What is that future promise based upon? I don't know. Right. But if you're selling an NFT that is rooted into something that is physical, so it's both digital and physical, at least you have a physical asset that you can touch and hold. And so in my mind, if you're going to do an NFT, doing one that is both digital and physical, that actually gets you something tangible, right, feels a little better to me than buy this NFT from me and because it'll be worth more money in the future. Well, why? We don't know. Does that make sense, Ryan? Does that help?
Yeah, it's you know, you have a lot of informed views on a lot of things. And I remember checking out your channel, I don't know, or on your Instagram, you were talking about it. I'm like, man, you know what? I got to pick this guy's brain when I get the chance to talk to him because I'm a big advocate of VV. I talk to Danielle about it all the time. I talked to her about it, I don't know, a couple months ago. She's like, Ryan, you're out of your mind. I'm like, probably I got to get off the phone. We have a drop in 4 minutes and I have to go on Wi-Fi only. And so
you'll be back in 1 second because everything sells in a second. So
it's crazy.
Just be like, hey, hold on a sec. Let me do this. You know?
Reggie, I got to tell you right now, I'm in downtown Ottawa with all these protests. Everyone's down here clogging up the networks. I haven't been able to get in on a drop for the past 10 days. It's killing me.
He's in withdrawal.
I'm in withdrawal, you know?
Brother, it's bad.
Oh, that's crazy. So,
it's bad.
Reggie, listen, what do you think is a better opportunity right now? Because you're very informed. You're in tune with the market and whatnot. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you your opinions on what you think is a better opportunity right now. With what's coming down the pipeline, the MCU, are we talking X-Men? Are we talking Fantastic Four with where people should kind of look for opportunities to see an increase on their investment?
X-Men.
X-Men. We got Rage Theo hollering from the West Coast right now.
Yeah, I can't see the chat. I should probably click the button. I don't.
We have so many comments. When we're done diving in, I'll leave a couple. I'll throw a couple up.
Okay.
And let a couple questions go up, but we just been so into this chat.
I focus on you guys during interviews. Yeah. I do not think that you can go wrong with the X-Men, right? The X-Men arguably are one of the best teams out there. I have an affinity for mutants. And I think that when they come to the MCU, it is going to be a game changer. And that is not to poo-poo the Fantastic Four. Fantastic Four are dope. They're dope, right? And I think finally, you know, over this last little bit, the FF and Daredevil those comics have started to get the recognition that they deserve. But the X-Men have been the X-Men for a very long period of time. And we would not have the X-Men if it were not for the FF. But, you know, when was the last time someone was really excited about the Fantastic Four? Like, when was the last time they had a really killer story arc?
Excited for Doom, but I mean, X-Men have been timeless since they came out.
When was the last time that Fantastic Four had a great story arc? I don't know. Right? You know, everybody talks about FF1. uh 48, 49, 50, right? But like with the X-Men, for example, the House of 10 Powers of X, it was great until it wasn't, right? But I cannot remember a time in which the FF have captivated people's attention the way that the X-Men captivated my attention as a child, and then recently with the Jonathan Hickman work that was done. And a lot of people didn't care for it. I loved it. I don't care for it now, but that's another story. But X-Men all day.
X-Men all day. So now, Reggie, on a personal basis, what are you looking to add to your collection in 2022?
Ooh, I cannot answer that. Let's not create a red ocean for my stuff, brother. Come on.
What's your grab? You got AF-15.
Yeah. No, so I'll tell you. I believe that a great opportunity with comics right now. Well, honestly, there's a lot of opportunity. I'll be completely honest about that. DC Comics, in my opinion, are undervalued and have been undervalued for a very long time. I don't necessarily see that changing because of the economy that we're entering, but also the fuel that will ignite that fire are the movies, and the movies haven't done that for DC the way that they have done for the MCU, right? So my focus is to round out my DC Silver Age collection to have it be respectable the way that my Marvel Silver Age collection is. While I don't have as much of an affinity for the DC books, there are some characters that interest me. And so those are the ones that I'll probably end up picking up.
Reggie, have you seen the Peacemaker yet over on HBO Max?
Come on now, brother. Yes, I have.
Well, okay, so here's my point. Now, if DC gets their act together and starts producing more content like that, because I think Peacemaker, I saw some metrics, the #1 show in the world right now as it's coming out, as it's streaming.
Not episode 1.
No, not episode 1 on Peacemaker.
Man, episode 1 made me want to kill myself. It was awful. It was, and I like myself. It was
better, right?
Yeah, it did, but do you know how many times I had to like sit down to try to get through episode 1, and my viewers, my subscribers were like, stick with it. So I stuck with it. And I was like really excited. James Gunn and I loved Cena in Suicide Squad. So I was like, this show is going to be epic. The opening dance scene.
I like that.
Oh my gosh. I was like, what is this?
That's how I felt about Venom 2. I felt like Carnage was horrible. That was probably one of the worst movies I've ever watched. It was awful.
I still haven't seen it. But so DC has a lot of challenges. That show is good because James Gunn wrote it, right? He directed most of the episodes. They're not going to get James Gunn, right? James Gunn is going back to the MCU. He's going to go do some work for us now. DC has, I do believe, 4 things coming out in 2022 featuring different Batman. You've got the movies with certain characters. You've got the movies with certain actors and characters, and you've got the TV shows with different ones, and the animated series with different ones. It just feels disjointed, and I don't feel like there's a cohesive strategy for them to create good movies on a reoccurring basis the way that you have with the MCU. The MCU, for better or worse, has a formula, and that formula works, and that formula generates billions of dollars. DC does not have a good track record.
Well, and they create attachment to characters, right? They put so much emotion into their characters, and you feel that on the screen. I don't know how many Marvel movies I've cried in.
Falcon and Winter Soldier, fantastic.
Like every icon, and even their shows, the movies, they don't do it wrong. Even when it's okay, it's still not wrong.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that, the humor that they have in there is is like getting dated. Maybe so, but it's still a good movie. Like, I still enjoy it, I fingers crossed that DC gets their stuff together. I think that they have lots of challenges, and fingers crossed they're able to get their stuff together. But I think that those DC keys are undervalued, but might remain undervalued, especially with the economy that we are headed into right now.
Well, but I don't know, because DC keys are also a lot more rare than Marvel keys, right? Like if you pull up Pop side by side, there is huge differentials in those numbers.
Yeah,
So
I don't disagree with that.
The Golden Age DC keys have really picked up because people realize how hard they are to find. So I think the real play is buying the best grade of a copy you can find, because that's what's going to set them apart. Because DC is also really hard above like 6.0 for whatever reason. DC Silver Age keys, they are not easy to find in that grade range.
Yeah,
so I think that's been the smarter play, because Golden Age DC keys went nuclear. And
I don't mess in that Golden Age. I leave that to the experts like you. I don't get in those waters. Those are not blue nor red. They're just incredibly deep, and I don't care for it.
A little too deep for me too.
I'm gonna stay with my Silver Age, okay, brother? That's where I'm gonna stay right there. You know,
Marvel Silver Age all the way for me. What's it saying? Is it DC for gold and Marvel for silver? That's how it goes, Danielle?
Well, I don't know. Well, right now, yeah. But
she's buying modern comics. I don't care. She's buying modern stuff. I see her.
So Reggie,
I blame 2021 on variants for making me buy variants
and holofoils.
You know, from day one, my disdain for variants. You know that has never been my thing.
Don't ask me about variants in new comics. I don't know anything about them. Then you see her buying variants in new comics. Hey, do you, son? Evolution. It's an evolution.
Gotta follow the trends.
Here's a funny story about Danielle and her variants. I think one of the first times I met you, Danielle, I was trying to work out a trade with you. I sent over a list of books, and there's this Wolverine 2010, like super hard variant. First thing, 2 seconds later, she's like, well, I don't want that Wolverine book. I don't know her. This book is like rather expensive. I thought it was.
Can't care. You might as well have pronounced Galactus's name wrong. She didn't
You remember that, don't you, Danielle? Oh gosh. So Reggie, I got
variants. That's my sweet spot.
Yeah, no kidding. Reggie, what is the Gibbon gang? Tell us about that.
Ooh, man. As many times I get asked this question, I've got to work on a better answer. So the Gibbon gang is an organic thing that is part of the channel. It started out with me making an offhanded comment about Amazing Spider-Man issue number 110, which is the first appearance of the Gibbon gang. And I was like, it's just, I'm doing a haul, and I was like, what's a Gibbon anyway? Right. People took that seriously. They sent me emails, Instagram posts describing Gibbons as not being lesser apes. I mean, it was like the hierarchy of where Gibbons fit in, like, the ape species. I mean, it was crazy. And I was just like, I was just playing. Like, I didn't even remember the comment at first, right? But then it became it became like just a thing of the channel, right? Like, I would have technical issues, the Gibbon did it. My internet would go off, the Gibbon did it. The light would blow out, the Gibbon did it, right? It just became part of the channel, and I tried to resist it. And after a while, I was like, I forget it. I'm gonna just lean into this thing. And so now it's like, if you get a copy of Amazing Spider-Man 110, you are part of the Gibbon gang, and it's nothing more than people saying, I dig what is happening with the channel and the people that surround the channel, and I want to be a part of that. That is essentially what the Gibbon gang is. It's just a phenomenon, man. As a marketer, I couldn't even come up with something that successful. It was like accidental, and I've just leaned into it. Speaking of that, there are Gibbon gang t-shirts available on regiecollects.com.
regiecollects.com.
I've leaned into it, brother. Bro, was it from Heroes to Icon? He did a really awesome Gibbon logo for me, and I've got that on the shirt right now. Again, super talented people that I have an opportunity to work with. From Heroes to Icon is one of those guys.
That's awesome. Now, Danielle, do we have any questions from any of our viewers that are joining us right now?
One of the questions, because I know we spent some time chatting. Oh, I just lost my chat. Oh. One of the questions we had, because I know we spent a lot of time talking about the guide, was do you still have, I know I'm late to the party, but do you still have any guides? Yours are gone, right, Reggie?
No,
Sold
you can
out.
get,
Auf Wiedersehen. You can download it.
you can download it on regiecollects.com.
Okay.
Yeah, we sold basically 4,000 copies of the guide,
Wow.
which is a lot.
Yeah.
And I heard from an Overstreet advisor that Overstreet sells about 10,000 copies. So I
Way
think
to
that
hit
that's
it out of the park on the first time at bat.
yeah.
The Gibbon gang is supporting.
The Gibbon gang and the comic book soldiers, they do not mess around. But what's happened, man, is I think, you know, people have had an opportunity to actually read it. And when they read it, they were like, this is actually pretty good. And they wanted to talk about it. And that them talking about it got other people's attention that were not part of the channel. I do not. I think, Los, how you doing, brother? I think the highest grade that I have might be a 9.4. I was looking at a 9.6 the other day that a comic shop had for sale, but the customer service was not where it needed to be. So I've decided to not pursue that 9.6. I'm all about the customer service, man. You make me feel good, I'll spend some money. You don't, I'll pass. So, and I also try not, honestly, to buy Amazing Spider-Man 110. We spiked the price at 1.300%. And that kind of freaked me out. So I try to. It was weird. It was weird. I did not anticipate that happening, and it happened, and it was like, oh, so maybe I shouldn't buy these books, you know.
Now, speaking of customer service, how are things with FedEx right now?
Oh man, Chris and I are good, brother.
That's awesome.
Chris and I are good. I actually have a video coming out about that. FedEx got it right. So so for those that haven't seen it, I had some issues with FedEx. So I will tell you, if you have children, there is nothing worse than having a surprise for your kid be ruined. And so I had to lie to my children during Christmas time. FedEx was leaving my children's presents outside the gate as we were coming home. You can't hide a 4-foot tall Hot Wheels box.
No kidding. Or the Barbie Dream House.
So my daughter also has the Barbie Dream House. You cannot leave that out front. So I had to lie to my children saying we bought those for the less fortunate, and we were going to be taking them to donate these toys because FedEx wasn't doing their job. So if you haven't seen the video, I basically I made a sign for FedEx and I left it outside, like, you know, can you do your job, please? And this is after I filed like a dozen complaints, like legit complaints. Every time a box was left outside, I filed a complaint. So I had a big sign. It was probably like 4 feet by 4 feet. And it was basically like, can you please do your job and ring this buzzer so that I can let you inside the gate? Amazon, UPS, the water company, you know, everybody was able to figure out how to push the buttons except for FedEx. But Chris and I have had a moment. And he now rings the button. He comes inside. He delivers my packages to the door. It's great.
He was like, "Oh, he put me on blast."
So at one point,
all the way out.
Hey, at one point, I was standing out there with the sign under my arm, like, "Do you see me now?" You know. But I only do stuff like that when you like really like push it. You know.
Well, you really got to go far, right? And really just be ignorant about it.
So here's the thing. One of the FedEx guys came to the house and I'm talking to him like, bro, can you please ring the buzzer so I can let you in? While I'm talking to him, he reaches down to try to pet my dog through the fence. And I'm like, so no, I'm talking to you. I need you to look at me while you know, because I'm mad. Now I'm getting mad, you know, and I don't want to be mad over packages, you know. So thankfully, Chris and I worked it out, who is my regular driver. We worked it out. Everything's all good with FedEx. Oh, man. Doug is the co-author on the guide. He's heckling me. For those that don't know, he's heckling me. So what he's talking about is I missed a key Swamp Thing book. I think Swamp Thing really only has one major key, right? It's first appearance of John Constantine. So I'm in the 100K collection. I'm filming me in the collection looking for a book. And I, you know, I didn't see it. It was faced the wrong way. Doug sends me screenshots of me in the video, and he's like, I think that this is the book. He circles it. He sends me like the book, and he's like, this is what you're looking for. Can you go look for it? I might be mistaken. And so I think I was traveling at the time, and Doug wasn't the only one that sent the message, but yeah, sure enough, I missed it. I missed the book. It's over there in my 2 CGC box, so it may go in at some point.
You found it.
But hey, shout out to Doug. Shout out to all the Blue Wrenches. Shout out to all the people that regularly show up in chats to keep me honest and send me news and information. I'm very thankful for all those people that surround the channel. So I do not. No, I have some foreign language books in the collection, but they are mostly books that people have sent me. I tell people I only understand English. So I only collect English because I like to read my books. I like to know what's in them. And I don't want to go down that rabbit hole of, Golden Age books or foreign language books because no, I just can't.
One day we'll be having this conversation and you're going to be like, so let me show you the first Golden Age book I finally bought.
Schomburg. It'll be Schomburg.
Yes.
It'll be Human Torch, Schomburg. I already know what it is. I already know the book.
It'll happen.
I already know the book.
It's coming. Before 2025, it's happening.
I'm choosing to not acknowledge that part of my hobby just yet.
One day I'm just gonna send you one.
Hey.
Like, oh, now you're in the rabbit hole.
Sorry, I meant Marvel Comics issue #1. My bad.
I don't know what that book is.
If you're gonna be sending out books, let me just go ahead and take a big swing,
Dream big.
No, I actually do love the Golden Age. I have an affinity for the Golden Age Human Torch, the Android version. I love that character and always have. This part of the reason why I love the Invaders. I'm not a big Cap fan, but I enjoy Cap, Submariner, and the Human Torch in that Invaders. I like that dynamic, and at some point I will get a Golden Age Human Torch book, and hopefully with some Submariner action.
Got you.
We'll
That's
see.
awesome.
We'll see what happens.
All right, so we heard your grails. We got to see your must-have kit. We talked about the guide. Is there anything we didn't cover or you want to share that you have coming?
No.
Ryan.
So I will say I always have a lot of plans.
Not that you want to share though.
I have a lot of plans.
Blue Sea, Danielle, Blue Sea.
Yeah, so I can't give you guys all the secrets. But let's just say so here's the thing. I did form something called Soldier Publishing. Right?
There we go.
And so Soldier Publishing is the outlet that will be used to bring forward publications. What those publications will be, who knows? I actually put a poll up on the channel and it was like, hey, do you guys want cookbooks? And a couple of people voted for cookbooks. I'm not doing a cookbook, I can tell you that right now, but there are some other publications that we will do.
Like Marvel recipes. That would be pretty dope. A cocktail book.
That could work. So here's the thing. I'm really a big fan of partnering up with really creative and talented people that can augment what I do. So if there's a mixologist out there that is interested in doing some Marvel drinks, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm doing here? You see what I'm doing?
I see what you're doing here. I'll have the first one.
But no,
we got quality control over at the Nerdy Girl household.
Cake party at my house on Reggie's new cocktail book.
Hey, you never know. I tell people all the time, I'm literally living my best life, man. I would not have envisioned 4 years ago that I would have, this guide out, that I would be doing a Soldier box, that the channel would be doing as well as it is, right? Who the heck knew? Who knew, right? So you always have these hopes and dreams, and you have these things that you want to do, and it's like one thing builds upon another. So Nerdy Girls, Smart Guide to Drinking, well done. Any future collaborations with other creators? I need some specificity. Around that question. Are you talking well-known creators? Because there's a lot of just wonderful creators in the hobby that are like content creators, that are just people that have wonderful ideas and they need a little bit of extra energy to bring it to life. So I just want some specificity before I answer that question.
Ryan, you have any other questions while we're waiting for a little elaboration?
Yeah, Reggie, actually, I do. How many books have you written thus far?
Oh, so that's so books. Okay. I think I've written, and I would have to go back and count, I've written like 5 different ebooks on fitness. So there's a couple of fitness ebooks out there that I've written that feature modeling for myself and my wife, because my wife was actually a fitness competitor as well. So she takes a much better picture than I do. So I've written a couple of those. And then, of course, this one that was written with Doug. So if you want to put a number to it, probably 6. But I've also been a published writer since I was 16. My very first article was in the Detroit Free Press. And so I've written for that Detroit Free Press. I was a communications major in college. So in order to graduate, we had to write 35 articles. So I've written those 35 articles. I was the editor for the yearbook. And then I did a lot of writing after I graduated, because that was like part of my job, was to write stories. And then in addition to that, as a fitness guy, I've written magazine articles for magazines all around the world.
That's very impressive. I made 4 spelling mistakes on my Starbucks order this morning. So
I didn't say I could spell. I can't spell, but I can string some sentences together in the written format.
We'll go back to Galactus.
Ooh, it's a good thing I just had to say it and didn't have to spell it, because that would have been really bad.
Reggie, what was the mispronunciation on Galactus?
So in all transparency, I don't think that it was a true mispronunciation. I think that because a lot of my videos are one take, like I literally set the camera up, I talk, I stop the camera, I edit it, and that's the video, right? So I think I was saying something like Galactus is, but it came out Galactusis, right? But I think I was saying Galactus is da-da-da-da-da-da, and it sounded like one word. Yeah. And it's also my Detroit accent, right? But I own it as a mispronunciation. And it honestly wasn't until the editor that works on Comic Tom actually found that vintage footage that I could hear it back, because public embarrassment is not something I do well. So I've never watched the video back. But when I'm watching the video with Comic Tom, he snuck it in there. I didn't know he was going to do that. And I was like, wait a minute. I don't think I mispronounced it. I think I said Galactus is, but it came out Galactusis. So.
And then you were just committed at that point.
First of all, 1G. For 1G in there.
I was going to ask you about the Reggie with 1G. I even put it in my post today. Reggie with 1G, not
Reggie
2.
It's not 2. My father looked at me the other day and I was giving him my email address. He looked at me. He was like, so what spelling are you using? I said, first of all, man, you better get it right. My real father is still 2 Gs, but I choose 1G. Is there a book that's always escaped my hands for one reason or another? Not really, to be honest. Not really. I don't know. Typically, when I set my sights on something, I tend to stick with it until I actually get it. And at this point, I honestly have been able to secure just about every book that I was really going after, you know? And that's because I had a goal, right? So that's not ego. That was me with a very specific goal, and I'm very goal oriented. That's what allowed me to do what it is that I've done, right? Is to draw that line in the sand and hold myself to that line. So
that's amazing. Well, this has been all sorts of.
One more.
You know, I do have some buyer's remorse.
Yeah, that was.
I do have some buyer's remorse, but it's not what you think. It's probably not what you think. My buyer's remorse is sometimes I get a little too. In the beginning, I was cheap with some of my purchases, right? So Amazing Spider-Man 129, I think I have a 7.0. I was cheap. I probably should have purchased a higher grade
for like a 9.0 instead of just like settling.
You see
that's why I always say buy the highest grade that you can afford to buy.
Yep, which is legit. But it took me time to recognize that that's what I should do.
Yeah.
And once I had that recognition, then that's exactly what I started doing, you know. But before I'd be like, oh, I just want the book. Oh, that price, I like that price. I'll get that. No, I should have been like, I bought X-Men 1. At the time, I was like, this book is stupid expensive. And I have what? I have a 5.0. It's a respectable grade. What would have happened if I had spent a couple extra bucks and got a 7 or a 7.5? Right? Giant size X-Men. I picked it up at a 7.5. What would have happened if I had spent a couple? So that's my remorse, is that I was too cheap to spend a couple of more dollars to get the book. Now, I don't truly regret it, because you look at the values of those books and what they are, right? But it would have been nice to have a slightly higher grade and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah. This
X-Men number 1 is still stupid in price. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I do have a video coming out. I have a video coming out. And in the video, what I'll be talking about is, will you have, if you want the ability to get a book that you've always wanted, you should watch the video that I'll be releasing hopefully soon, because I'm going to give you some context for how you can make that magic happen. That is super cryptic. I know, my bad.
Now, Reggie, do you ever get emotionally invested? Like, do you play in the auction houses at all? You're bidding on a book, you have yourself sold on it. No, everyone's shaking their heads.
Nope.
I'm the exact opposite. You know what I mean? I have love affairs with these books.
About that auction house life.
Oh,
I am not about that. No. I'm about let me find that book. Let's talk about this price, and I'm going to buy it. You know, and here's the thing, Ryan, it's not that that's bad. It's that, like, to the point of what we just talked about with Danielle, is I know who I am, and I know what will motivate me and not.
You get caught up in that bidding, and you want to win, and it gets the best of you.
And I will make it rain. I will make it rain, and then I will hate it after. And so I don't
why I do that.
I don't do it. I don't do auctions in any way, shape, or form. You know, tell me the price. I'll either buy it, or we're going to negotiate, or I'm going to walk away. That's it. I don't do auctions. Plus those fees, man, those fees are evil.
Yeah, they can get pretty fierce.
Just build it into your bid, though. That's what I do. When I bid in an auction house, I just bid it into my bid.
Why are you laughing over there, Danielle?
Because the fees are crazy sometimes, and he's just like, those fees. But for me, it's like, well, I'm just going to pay. I just include that when I'm hitting my bid.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I don't think I've purchased a book via auction in years.
How about eBay? Same.
I don't even really do eBay anymore.
Yeah. Well, eBay's a mess now anyways.
And that's one of the things, is you have to buy books where it makes sense, right? But in my mind, if you're in the US, there are a lot of great places to get books that are not eBay. I work with a lot of dealers. There's a lot of great apps and a lot of great websites out there. And if you develop relationships with people
on Instagram, like there's a huge community of people.
I have a whole video series on Instagram, buying and selling. Why? Because it's a great way to go, right? So I buy not on eBay. Not on eBay. No.
Respect it.
Stupid fees.
Forbidden fruit of auction houses, let me tell you. Sucks you right in. And then when you talk to your friend Danielle, and you're like, hey, Danielle, you see this book I got? She's like, oh, I know. You paid a strong price. Well, thanks, Danielle. Why didn't you tell me to put the brakes on about 6 bid increments?
I would say that's why you need friends, because they'll make you feel really good about the things you do. Really.
I always keep it real.
After the fact. Oh man, look, this has been so much fun today, Reggie. I want to thank you for your time joining us over on the Nerdy Girl channel. And guys, like the show, subscribe to the channel. Go check out Regie Collects. If you're one of the few people that haven't, he's putting out awesome content, best of business.
Meow.
What? I missed that.
Where'd you say? Go subscribe.
Oh, yes, please do. Please do. We're trying to beat Bueller. Wherever number Bueller's at, I'm trying to beat Bueller.
Ooh, do it. Go hit that subscribe. Don't forget, do it right now. Guys, this has been a pleasure.
What a fun time.
Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate you both.
Guys, peace out.